We have breaking updates on the high-stakes federal trial of Sean P. Diddy Combs. A jury today convicted him of prostitution-related offenses, but acquitted him of sex trafficking and racketeering charges that could have put him behind bars for life. Today's verdict comes on the third day of jury deliberations. To help us understand what comes next, we're joined live by Oakland trial attorney Adante Pointer. Good afternoon to you, sir.
Afternoon.
Well, to start off here, set us up with some context, right? Especially for viewers just getting caught up on this case. Could you walk us through the key events that led up to this moment?
Sure. What we have here is a case that was brought by the federal government in federal court, which most people think is as serious as it gets, where they charged Sean Diddy Combs with various charges, 5 charges in particular. They indicted him for engaging in the RICO Act, which is a criminal act enterprise, sex trafficking, as well as transportation for prostitution. They raided his homes, essentially destroyed his career, and hauled him off to jail, which he's been incarcerated since September of last year. He recently fought this case in federal court and was only found guilty of 2 federal charges for engaging in transporting people for the acts of prostitution. Essentially, the government now has egg on its face, and I predict Diddy will Diddy Bop, which is the name of a dance that he coined, out of court with a slap on his wrist. But sentencing will not be taking place for several months. So once again, after what probably was a multi-million-dollar spend by the government to convict Diddy, they didn't get that done, but it still remains to be seen what his sentencing will actually be.
Okay, so with today's new developments, what would you say this means for Mr. Combs at this point in time?
Well, the first big hurdle now that Mr. Combs is facing is, will he be released on some type of probation of sort? Essentially, will he be able to be released from jail and custody until he's sentenced? And so the judge is supposed to make a decision on that today at 5 p.m. East Coast time. So that should be coming down within just the next couple of hours. If he is released, whether he is released or not, the next phase after that will be when he's actually receives his sentencing, which usually takes place a couple of months after the verdict is rendered. So we're looking at something that potentially could happen in the fall of this year when he actually finds out what his sentence will be, which could range anywhere, in my opinion, from probation all the way up to 20 years, depending upon how the judge rules at his sentencing hearing.
And I want to touch on something you just mentioned here. Mr. Combs' attorney has requested his client be released from federal detention where he has been for a year. They're offering a $1 million bond. Do you see the judge agreeing to this?
I could certainly see Diddy or Sean Combs being released on a $1 million bond or perhaps a higher bond, but pending the sentencing. What you have here is there were much more serious charges that Diddy was accused of. And all those serious charges, he was acquitted. Not that there was a mistrial, that the juries was mixed between people who thought he did something and didn't do something, but that they heard the government's evidence, the government's best case, and refused to convict him of those charges. Simply engaging in transporting someone for the purposes of prostitution is a much lesser charge than any of the other ones that he Diddy-bopped or walked away from.
Now, back in 2021, after a 6-week trial, a federal jury in Brooklyn convicted R. Kelly to 30 years in prison. Do you see any similarities between that case and what's happening here?
Certainly there are some similarities in the fact that you have 2 people who were big-time, worldwide known entertainers and accused of engaging in sexual misconduct. The difference, I think, one of the stark differences here with R. Kelly versus P. Diddy is that Diddy, the accusers were all adults. The accusers were all people who had been taken care of by Diddy. The accusers at all had issued social media posts saying they were still in love with Diddy despite all of the things. Accusers saying that they enjoyed what they engaged in terms of these freak-offs or hotel nights with Diddy. In R. Kelly's case, you're talking about minors, you're talking about kids, you're talking about people who didn't have those type of statements and who could not give consent. So, you know, stark difference between talking about minors versus consenting adults.
Okay, so what kind of fallout or impact do you expect today's verdict to have on Mr. Combs' career and public image?
Well, his career and his public image have certainly been sullied. There's no doubt about it. You know, we heard about all the salacious details of what he was engaged in, this alternate lifestyle, and frankly, the videotape of him beating Cassie. So those are things that I don't think he can ever walk back from, but there are things that did not amount to a federal conviction. So I think there is light for Diddy after this, although his reputation and his brands took a huge hit, and I'm sure it'll take a while to recover if he can from that.
All right. Oakland attorney Adante Pointer, thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
Appreciate you having me.